Hello dear parents, I am here to talk to all of you about how to help your children if they have dyslexia or dysgraphia. Foremost, we need to remember every time you go to the school, you have a PTM, hear your teachers out, hear your child's teachers feedback, what they have to say. At the same time, take some time to ponder on what they said. Do not take it personally as a parent that it is a failure for you or there's something that you are not doing right. That's why the child is struggling at school. Remember and remind yourself often that not all children are same. Some children need more support and some children need less support. It could be possible that your child needs some more support from you and probably you need to find more resources to help your child, which definitely means more work. As parents, we may or may not want to do that work, but it is what is needed. Take your time after each PTM before you bring that information to your child or you react to that information with your child. Whenever children learn that they are struggling, whenever they hear it out from others that they are struggling, it is very unsettling for them. Their heart breaks every time they find out that they have not been good enough or their skills are lagging or teachers or parents are concerned about their skill sets. So before we start talking to them, we need to take into account that we need to come from a acceptance perspective. In whatever it is, we accept it. It is there. Whatever struggles are showing up, they are there. We can't really do anything to fix them. In fact, we do not have to fix anything. We just have to say, how do we support? What can we do differently to help them strive, help them thrive at school? When doing academics for children with dyslexia and dysgraphia, we need to remember that they will not be able to read all the material themselves. They will need someone to read out material to them. So whenever you want to help them with their schoolwork, with their homework, with their learning work, remember that we need to be able to read out material to them and not sit them with their notebook and say things like कि आप काम कीजिए हम आते हैं. They need you by their side. Similarly, if they are not getting their spellings right, have them practice their spellings, but do not expect that they will master all the spellings and they will have zero spelling errors. In fact, if they get closer to 50% correction of their spellings, that should be taken as an achievement and we need to let go of the other 50%. We need to focus on the effort that they put in. The process of learning, if they were doing their best when they were learning with you. Sometimes frustrations might show up when we would say that you told me all the spellings correct, but why didn't you write it correctly in the exam? You are saying the spelling correct, but you're not writing them correct. So these could be moments of frustration for you and for the child, either ways. So as a parent, when you're trying to help your child remember the spellings, remember the old school trick that I need to sound out the spelling the way it needs to be written. So if I need to write monkey, I need to remember that mung has to be written as mon and then key is the key as in with EY. When I do this kind of sound mapping, children are able to remember the sounds better. And we need to remember this is a core deficit for dyslexia and dysgraphia, that spellings may not come easily to them and we may need to spend time mapping. Whenever we are teaching them concepts, remember that because they can't read on their own or even if they are reading, they read it very slow. We need to support them to be able to hear what we are saying. So hear the answers as the parent says it, hear the answers as a sibling may say it, or we can record the answers in our voice so that the child can hear it at their own pace. Instead of insisting that the child writes all the answers and practices them, we can help them orally express the answers. Orally express, orally tell us what they have learned at school, what is this chapter all about, and every time they get stuck, we should be ready to explain. We should be ready to check with their understanding. Also, it is very common for children with dyslexia, dysgraphia to become passive withdrawers. What I mean by passive withdrawers is that their minds get tired, they shut down, they are no more learning, but they are pretending as if they are learning. They are pretending as if they are listening to us. So we need to be able to identify our child's stamina, our child's threshold for fatigue, our child's signs and symptoms when we know that now they are tired, now they are shutting down, they are no more with us for learning, and know when to stop, when to not push them for learning. Slowly and gradually, when we keep up with oral mode of listening, speaking, listening, telling us what they understand of it, they become confident that they can learn the material, and with that confidence and success, we usually see motivation for academics go up. However, if they do not understand or they continue to struggle, motivation for studies go down. In fact, we see a lot of times there is a lot of reluctance that starts showing up to even go to school. They may not want to sit with us for studies. When we sit with them and we try to help them, it's very important that we not use labels of, you don't get it, why don't you get this, this is so simple, why don't you understand it, or I said that like 10 times, I've explained it to you so many times, why aren't you getting it? Why this is important is if we say statements like this, the person, the child who is learning thinks they are not smart enough, they can see the disappointment in us, they feel that they are letting us down, there is something that they are lagging in, and because they see so much of disappointment in us as parent who's teaching at that time, they get anxious and they withdraw. How we can help them is if we come from an understanding point of view and say it's okay if you're not getting it. Maybe I need to give you some other method to memorize it. Maybe I need to make a mnemonic out of it. Maybe I need to give you an easier way or a logic to learn this thing, and then you will be able to. And one of the key features for our children of dyslexia and dysgraphia is that a lot of times they are logical thinkers. They want to make sense of what this is all about, how to do it. Also, when they are not able to do it, they want to figure out what is so different about them, what is getting in the way. And as a parent, when we explain them how to solve a problem, how to learn something, how to understand a chapter, how to make sense of it, how to make that mental map inside our head of a chapter or a topic, that's when they say, oh, now I get it how to do it. And moment they have this feeling of now I know how to do it, we see more participation and more ownership of the process of learning. As we are going forward helping our children with dyslexia and dysgraphia, we need to learn also that there is a place for having a special education teacher, having a teacher who's trained to teach reading, teacher who's trained to teach spellings or writing process, because these are specialized fields, right? As parent, I could be a lawyer, I could be an accountant, I could be expert of any field. However, I may not be expert of teaching. I may not be an expert of how to teach reading, how to teach spellings or writing. And that is where we need to reach out to the teachers at school two specialists who've been trained to work with children with dyslexia. As a parent, it's not only our job to be able to do everything for our child, and that is somewhere I see a lot of parents putting a lot of blame on themselves or a burden on themselves, thinking that it was probably them. They did something wrong and that is why the child is struggling at school. Now that we have a lot of parents who work out of the house, they have different jobs to hold on to, they may not be able to support children with their academics, and a lot of times when children struggle with academics or struggle at school, that's the first thought that parents may have in their mind is that probably because I was not able to give them time, I was not able to work with them when they were young, that is why my child is struggling. So we need to get out of that mindset and remember that dyslexia and dysgraphia are common. They're present in about 8 to 12% of children in schools. We may not be able to pinpoint an exact cause of what has caused dyslexia, but we definitely know that as early as possible, if we start recognizing that this is dyslexia, how to help the child with dyslexia, there is a proper way to diagnose, there is a proper way to work with children with dyslexia, we can do a lot of good work. So as early as you can be, say first grade, second grade, sometimes in kindergarten, we have now ways to detect whether this child is at risk of dyslexia and what methods we should be doing to teach them early on. My strong advice to all parents is do not wait till middle school or high school to get the diagnosis or to start working with the child. It's not something that the child is going to grow out of. We will need to work with them, we will need to support the child. So I would wish all of you very good luck helping your children.